Hello everyone, I am Douglas E. Welch and this is a Gardener's Notebook tip from a Gardener's Notebook. For more information, you can always visit the website douglasewelch.com. There you'll find links to a Gardener's Notebook as well as everything else that I do. Well, today's tip is we're going to be repairing this hose. This is often something that comes up in the garden. Hose ends fail regularly for a variety of reasons. I'll show you some close-ups of why this one is failing and how we're going to fix it. Here's our hose, and you notice we have this really nice hose end on it, which is very effective, allows us to adjust to many different styles of spray and stuff. But unfortunately, we put it on the place where the hose end connects to the fitting itself separated. When I was tightening it on, this hose really wasn't up to dealing with this connector here, and in fact if I try to turn it off, I can't actually get the connector off anymore. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is take my pliers, reach into the actual connector itself and allow me to spin off the hose end here. Okay, so there's our nice hose fitting, fire hose nozzle they call it. There's a variety of these on the market. This one's stainless steel inside. It's very, very nice actually. So here we are left with the hose end then. You can see right here perhaps where it has separated. What happens is this sprays out here, and when we try to turn this off with the faucet we have, it actually causes pressure that makes the faucet turn back on its own, which we don't want to do. So the next thing we need to do is we need to cut off this hose end, the existing hose end that's on here, and we want to do that as smoothly as possible. Now these little dealy boppers I got for cutting PVC pipe with, they do a great job. They're super sharp, and I actually use them for a lot of different things in the garden, including doing hose repair. So it's a ratcheting cutter here, and sometimes you got to be a little creative about how it does it. What you want to do is you want to make sure it cuts nice and straight across, because you want the hose to go onto the new fitting nice and straight. Now you could also use a mat knife for this, or whatever other sharp implement you might have, and that might help you get through this a little bit better. Let's see here, one more cut I think. Unfortunately, sometimes you do run into this issue where the hose is just a little bit long. So what I have to do is I'm going to have to finish that cut with a mat knife just to trim off the edge. That said, I got a nice fairly straight cut here, so that should make attaching the new adapter pretty darn easy. And so I've got my handy dandy mat knife here, and we'll just kind of very carefully trim the last piece of that hose off. And there we go with our hose end. Now, when you're replacing a hose end, this is the connector I got at my local home store. Actually, I was at the garden nursery for this one. I'm picking up the soil from a previous episode when I got this. Now this one you'll see is metal. It's brass and looks like galvanized steel for the coupler on here. There are cheaper ones out there. This one was I think $6. You can get plastic ends, which I've used in the garden before. They tend to work fine too. Since we have such a nice hose end for this that is also metal, I figured I would get a nice metal to metal adapter on this just to perhaps beef up the quality of the hose just a little bit. Now when you're choosing one of these hose ends, you may notice here it says 3/4 inch or 19 millimeters to 5/8 inch 16 millimeters. You need to sort of know the diameter of your hose, and in this case this one comes out to how many millimeters here? About 19. So this is a 19 millimeter or 3/4 inch hose. This adapter is supposed to work with either, and hopefully that will prove to be the case. What you will find is you may have a little trouble getting the coupler in here. Sometimes putting the end of the hose in some really hot water, like just off boiling water, will help to expand and make it a little easy. You also might have some petroleum jelly or some other lubricant you could put on there to help inserting the adapter. What we're going to do is we're going to move this from its card, and what you do is we have to open up these screws anyway that we're later going to use to put it on the hose. So we'll do that real quick. Now you don't have to undo this coupler all the way, just big enough to get it, slip it over the end of the hose. And this does have to go on first before you put the hose end in, because what's going to happen is this is going to go on, the coupler's coming up, and then we're going to tighten this down to hold that coupler in place, okay? Now, as with most home projects, things don't always go the way you plan. Now you may have noticed when I started to put that in there that this thing was flopping around in here like a wet noodle. Well, the fact is I measured this, and despite what they said on the package, this is not a 19 millimeter fix-it kit. It's way too small, probably for a half-inch hose, I think is what they call a very tiny hose. Now, why it was mislabeled or whatever, I'm not real sure, so I had to run out and grab a new kit And that's what I've got here. I've got a plastic kit this time because that's simply what they had on hand, and I wanted to get on with the project, which is sometimes the way life happens. Now what I've done here is, of course, you got to fit the coupler back over the hose like we did with the metal one, and I actually did use some petroleum jelly to quickly grease the inside of the hose. Now you may be able to see in this hose too, this is a non-kink hose or kinkless hose, it's actually a hose within a hose, and that can make this a little bit trickier to get in. But I have lubricated it there, and we'll just start to kind of gently push it in there. You want to make sure that the white part of the hose isn't getting kinked up inside. It looks like it's going in pretty well. Okay, and just keep kind of twisting it back and forth until the outer hose comes right up against the new fitting there. That ensures you've got it kind of settled in there. Then you can slide up the coupler, and we're going to have to loosen him a little bit more, it looks like, just to get him over that bulge there where the hose connects. And again, you want to bring that coupler right up against the new hose connection there, just like that. And then once you've got it right up against the coupler there, then you can go ahead and tighten it down. Now I do recommend you tighten one side a little bit, and then switch over to the other side and tighten that one a little bit, just so that you get nice even tension all across the connector there. You want to bring it down pretty tight. Again, we're trying to make sure we don't have any leaks in this hose after this repair. I think we got it all the way tightened down. And there you go. Our new hose is all prepared. We can simply reattach it to our handy dandy hose nozzle here, and away we go. So I hope you have found this tip useful. You know what? It's really a shame to throw stuff out if it's easily repairable like this is. There's plenty of parts, plenty of ways of doing it at the home store. It can take a little time for you to do it, but as you saw, despite our little adventure with having the wrong connector, it went together pretty darn quickly. So until next time, I'm Douglas E. Welch. For more information, you can always visit the website douglasewelch.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click that like button. It really helps people discover our videos, and it helps more than you think. Until next time, keep repairing and keep digging.